All right, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that the belief, I'm not creative, is probably the biggest lie holding you back? Today, we're going to crack open the Mega Creativity Framework. It's a guide that's designed to, well, completely rewire how you see your own creative power.
I mean, how many times have you heard someone say that? Or let's be honest, how many times have you thought it yourself? It's one of those beliefs that's so common it feels like a universal truth, right? We talk about creativity like it's this rare magical gift. You're either born with it or you're not.
Okay, but what if that whole idea is a total myth? The author of Mega Creativity argues that this isn't just a false idea, it's actually a destructive one. It's like we build this mental cage for ourselves, and we lock away all our potential to innovate, to solve problems, and to really make an impact.
So, if we're going to unlock all that potential, we first need a new map, a new way of looking at things. Let's start by completely redefining what creativity actually is. Because, spoiler alert, it's not about being an artist in some studio, it's about something way more fundamental to just being human.
What this book does, and I love this, is it just strips away all the mystery. It gives us this really simple but powerful definition. Creativity? It's a process of getting to new ideas that add value. That's it. It's basically how we solve problems, and that could be anything, from composing a symphony to building a business or even just trying to figure out what's for dinner.
And once you see it that way, it leads to these two simple but kind of profound laws. Law number one, every single person is creative. It's just baked into our DNA. And law number two, every single field is creative. I'm talking physics, farming, parenting, programming, you name it. Everything we do is a canvas for creative problem solving.
Okay, so if we're all creative, then how do we actually do it? Like, how do we put it into practice? Well, this is where the book gives us this awesome roadmap. It's a simple 4-letter acronym to guide the whole process. MEGA.
So, MEGA stands for 4 really crucial phases. First, you've got M for motivation. This is all about picking the right problems to solve. Then E is for exploration. That's when you dive deep, you learn, you gather all your ingredients. Next up is G, generation. This is what we usually think of as creativity, the brainstorming, coming up with new ideas. And finally, A is for amelioration. A fancy word, but it just means refining and improving your solutions until they're great.
Now, I know what you're thinking. The generation part, the brainstorming, that's got to be the most important one, right? But the book makes this incredible point. It's actually the first step, motivation, that we almost always mess up. It's like the neglected foundation of all great work. And if you get this part right, everything else just clicks into place. And it all kicks off with this really profound question from the philosopher Howard Thurman. He said, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive." Because that, right there, that's where your most powerful, most sustainable creative energy is hiding. And this distinction is absolutely critical because, let's face it, we are so often driven by the wrong stuff, chasing tons of money, status, trying to live up to what other people expect. The book calls these bad motives. They're all external, and they will always burn out. Real creativity, the kind that lasts, is an internal fire. It's fueled by that feeling of being alive, by a sense of purpose, and by just plain old curiosity.
Let me give you a great real-world example of this. Picture this. It's 2010. Tennis star Novak Djokovic just suffered a really crushing loss at the French Open. Now he's world number 3, but on the inside, he's completely fried. He actually told his team he was done, that he was quitting tennis forever.
So what did his coach do? He didn't give him some big pep talk about winning or rankings. Nope. Instead, he asked a really simple question that just cut right to the heart of the matter. He just said, "Novak, why did you first choose to play tennis?"
And Djokovic's answer, it had nothing to do with fame or money or trophies. He just said, "Because I loved the game. I loved hitting a tennis ball." That one simple reminder reconnected him with his original motivation, that intrinsic stuff, the pure joy of just playing.
And the result? Well, the very next season, he had one of the greatest years in the entire history of tennis. He won 3 Grand Slams and became the undisputed world number 1. The key takeaway here is that he didn't find a new ambition. He just rediscovered his original love for the game.
Okay, so that's a great story for a world-class athlete, but how do we find our own version of that core motivation? Well, the book gives us a really powerful tool for this. It's called the Curiosity Bullseye. Just picture a target, right? The outer ring is the broadest part. What are you just generally curious about? Then you move to the middle ring, which gets a little more specific. Out of those curiosities, which ones give you a real sense of purpose?
And then the bullseye, the very center. That's where your purpose overlaps with your own unique talents. That is the sweet spot. And when you find work that lives inside that bullseye, something amazing happens. It stops feeling like a finite game, you know? A game with a finish line, like winning an award or getting a promotion. Instead, it becomes what the author calls an infinite game. When you play for the sheer joy of continuing to play, the work itself, that becomes the reward. Okay, and this leads us to the final and honestly, maybe the most empowering piece of this whole motivation puzzle, and that is embracing the very things that make you, well, weird. Think about it. We spend so much of our lives trying to fit in, right? But the book argues that your weirdness, that totally unique combo of your genetics, your experiences, your perspective, it's not a weakness. It's your single greatest creative asset. I mean, literally nobody else on the planet has your exact mix.
In this quote from Austin Kleon just hits the nail on the head. He says, do the work you want to see done. In other words, stop trying to guess what other people want. Create the things you want to exist. Write the book you want to read. Build the business you want to use. You start with an audience of one, yourself.
And here's the beautiful paradox in all of this. The more you trust your own unique taste and the less you worry about what everybody else wants, the more original and valuable your contribution actually becomes. Your specific point of view isn't just a nice to have, it's the very thing the world is missing.
So, I'm going to leave you with one final, pretty haunting thought from the poet Mary Oliver. And I think it works as both a warning and a powerful call to action. Just let that sink in for a second. The biggest regret isn't failing, it's the silence of not even trying. It's feeling that creative call inside of you, and then giving it, and her words, neither power nor time.
So the final question this all leaves us with is a really personal one. You are creative. That potential is absolutely there. The only question left is what? What problem, what curiosity, what piece of your own amazing weirdness are you going to give your power and your time to?